Hello, good morning, my students. So, here after part 1 of chapter 2, Microorganism Friend, and 4, I have brought part 2 for all of you. After huge discussion about the introduction to microorganism, how they look, what are their major categories, we will see what is there further with the microorganism in this PPT. I hope you will enjoy. Start from there where we have left for our previous slide. So, I was discussing about the examples of bacteria, algae, fungus and protozoas to you, and even we were discussing something about how they are useful or harmful to us. Now, apart from major these four categories, fifth category is also there in the case of microorganism, but we have categorized this virus separately because rest four microorganism always they are either in the living form or non-living form, but virus is quite unique. It can live in the non-living form for longer period of time. What does that mean? That means, suppose, is there any virus who is there on the cloth or any plastic? So, on the non-living object, it will leave as a non-living material. But as in soon, it will come in the contact with the living person or living animal. It gets activated, it starts multiplying its DNA, which is the genetic material present inside its head. I will be discussing its structure in detail. So, they are also called the connecting link between living and non-living. They are not entirely living or they are not entirely non-living. So, we have here categorized virus in the entire fifth category. So, viruses are also considered as microorganism. They are different from other microorganism because they reproduce only in the body of host organism like bacteria, plant or animal. That means for the multiplication or to get multiplied they need something which is living. It could be bacteria, it could be plant or it could be animal. Some common elements like cold, influenza and most cough are caused by the virus. Serious diseases like polio, chicken pox and these days which is the corona, COVID-19, that is also caused by the deadly virus. Now, here you can see the images of bacteria, spiral bacteria, you know they are S-shaped, rod shaped bacteria, they are like capsule. You can see the green algae, the first picture is of Chlamydomonas, and the Spirogyra, as I told you in my previous slide, that they are quite spiral in a shape, so they are named as Spirogyra. Then you can see the single cell protozoans, or you can say unicellular amoeba or slipper shaped paramecium. Here are some images of common fungus. The first one is bread mold, second one is penicillium, and the third figure is of aspergillus. So, when you see this microorganism under microscope or using some scientific tool, you may observe their shape, size and color this way. For the further studies, scientists do observe their size and shape and then they do certain experiments to see whether they are useful or harmful to us. As I told you that I will also discuss the structure of virus to you. Isn't it looking like a space shuttle? Yes, is it? It is looking like a space shuttle having three major things in the structure. The first thing is head. It is quite a capsule shape, or you can say it is quite an hexagonal in shape. This head is having all the genetic material required for the multiplication and the doubling or the growth of the virus. This genetic material could be made up of RNA structures and DNA structures. You know about DNA, which is deoxyribonucleic acid, a form of protein. Also, they contain RNA, which is ribose nucleic acid. Now, these names are quite new to you. We will be studying about all these names of proteins or different forms of protein in our coming sessions. So you can see in the image, that is a red color spiral thing, which is also an RNA which is required for the development or the multiplication of virus in the host body. Now this image is given of human immunodeficiency, yani HIV virus, which is quite deadly. And remember, even though after this many years of HIV virus is identified, there is no vaccine found or prepared for this virus. Now you can see this virus is covered with the capsid structure or the protein structure. So unless it enters the host, it is well protected inside the capsid or the head capsule when it is there in the atmosphere. Then it has a neck or tail like structure, and it has tail fibers or end plate through which it is going to enter or infect a healthy person. So this is the structure of virus. And what is the unique thing about the virus? This virus could be non-living when it is not there inside the host body, but it gets activated as soon as it enters the host body. Now here the question comes, after all this discussion, are these microorganisms our friend and foe? So we are going to discuss about the usefulness and harmfulness in this PPT. So microorganisms play an important role in our lives, already we have discussed. Let's see about this their uses in little more detail. Some of them are beneficial in many ways, whereas some other are harmful and causes disease. As I told you in my first slide that every day we eat and drink lactobacillus bacteria. Unless I have told you, you might not be knowing that you are eating and drinking bacteria. You might have heard or seen the advertisement in TV that says about the good bacteria for your gut, that is the Yakult ad. Or there are some bacteria which are present in the drink form these days in the market, which might boost your immunity. So we can say that to the certain extent, yes, they act as a friend. So which all microorganisms act as a friend? Let's see. Now microorganisms are used for making curd from the milk, for making cheese, pickle, bread, cake, pastries, alcohol, wine, vinegar, whose name is acetic acid also, on a commercial ways. So whenever any industries who's dealing with the food parts or food products, or they are dealing with the dairy products, they are widely using this microorganism. But of course they are using microorganism in the good form, or you can say in a sterile form, so that they don't further cause any disease to us. So let's see the first use. So making of curd from milk. As I already mentioned to you, the bacterium called lactobacillus reproduce in a milk and helps to convert the milk protein lactose into the curd. So every day when we are using a curd or a buttermilk, you can say that it is produced from the milk with the help of lactobacillus bacteria. Then making bread. Now large population of world is dependent upon the bread and bakery items and bakery products. Even we like to have subways and the sandwiches and the garlic bread or pizza. So all this base or the bakery item, whenever they are prepared, they use yeast, fungus or mold, but of course in the sterile form. So the fungus, widely known as yeast, reproduce in all purpose flour, dough, and produce the carbon dioxide gas during the respiration, which makes the dough quite soft, spongy, and helps making bread, cake, biscuit, pastry, etc. You might surprise if I say, when idlis are prepared on the commercial way, like a restaurant when prepares idli, and you know those idlis are quite softer even though when we prepare at home, because they are adding yeast to the batter of rice. So that makes sure that idlis are quite soft and fluffy, so we enjoy eating them. Now let's begin with the commercial use of microorganism. As here you can see a vinegar bottle. Yes, so microorganisms are also used to prepare acetic acid or vinegar. So vinegar, you might have heard that it is added, it is quite watery like structure, it look like water, quite transparent, but if you taste it, it is not like water, it is quite acidic or sour in taste. It is mainly used as a preservative of pickle, or even it is used majorly in the preparation of Chinese food. So microorganisms are used for large scale for the production of alcohol, wine and acetic acid. Now how this alcohol are produced? In foreign countries or in other countries, wherever the sugary products like fruits, rotten fruits or some rotten barley, they are put in a big converter where they add this microorganism. This microorganism will eat all this rotten fruit and barley and will convert the sugar present in the fruit into the alcohol. This process is also called the fermentation. So with the repetitive fermentation, the fruit juice or the rotten fruits convert into the alcohol or different taste of wines. Now, the yeast is used for the commercial production of alcohol and wine. For this purpose, yeast is grown on the natural sugars present in the grains like barley, wheat, rice and crushed fruit juice. So, the process of conversion of sugar into alcohol is known as fermentation. This is very important topic. Teacher may ask you what is fermentation and how does it happen and what are the commercial use of microorganism. Louis Pasteur, a very famous name, discovered the fermentation first in 1857, which is quite almost 175 years ago. He was the first one to notice the fermentation. So later so many practices were discovered to have a commercial production of wine alcohol. Now let's discuss about the medical use or medicinal use of microorganism. Whenever you fall sick, your doctor may give you some antibiotic, or you might have heard of the word which is like we are taking antibiotics. Now antibiotics are the medicines which are only given when person is highly affected with the microorganism. Now what these antibiotics do? They actually directly target the microorganism and kill them, so their further reproduction stops, so the person can recover from the disease caused by the microorganism. These antibiotics are available in the form of tablet, capsule, injections of penicillin. The first ever antibiotic which was prepared was from the fungus known as penicillin. Such source of medicine is the microorganism. Such medicines are also called the antibiotics. These days the number of antibiotics are being produced from bacteria and fungi as they are quite less harmful than the other microorganisms. Streptomycin, tetracycline and erythromycin, these are the examples of cough syrups. They are some commonly known antibiotics given to adult or children when they sneeze or cough. Now this medicine kills, as I discussed to you, they kill or they stop the growth of disease causing microorganism in the body. So the human body can well recovered in advance if the microorganism have entered the human body. So you can say that so far we are discussing all uses of the microorganism, which are like we discussed that they are used for production of dairy products, curd, cheese, pickle. They are also used for production of fermentation, fermented product like alcohol and for the cake and pastries and the wines, and also here they have a medicinal use like they are prepared for the antibiotics. Now before I go further, I want to say something on the antibiotic. These antibiotics are used as a medicinal form, so one has to be quite cautious while using this antibiotics. One should never take antibiotics by own. One should take only antibiotics which are prescribed by the doctors, because if the dosage is too high, they may give you an adverse effect on your health. It is important to remember that antibiotics should be taken only the advice of qualified doctor. Also, you must finish the course prescribed by the doctor. If you take antibiotics when not needed or in a wrong dose, it may take a drug less effective when you might need in a future. So whenever this drug is required in future, and if you have not taken this antibiotic properly in your earlier time, they might not be effective whenever they are required. Also, antibiotics taken unnecessarily may kill the beneficial bacteria in your body. So, antibiotics, however, are not effective against cold and flu, as these are caused by the viruses. But yes, with the dry cough and sneeze, these antibiotics are quite useful. Now, let's talk about the penicillin. In 1929, almost 100 years back, Alexander Fleming was working on the culture. Now, what is culture? Now, culture is it is a solution containing microorganism of disease causing bacteria. So, he had some material or some liquid which was containing bacteria. Suddenly, he found that the spores of little green mold in one of his culture plates. So, he observed some green patches over there. He observed that the presence of mold prevent the growth of bacteria. So, he noticed that because of this molds are there, those culture which was having the disease causing bacteria could not grow better. So, suddenly he got strike that if any disease caused due to this bacteria can be prevented using this green mold. So, this way he invented a penicillin. So, he observed the presence of mold prevented the growth of bacteria. In fact, it also killed many of this bacteria. From this mold, penicillin was firstly prepared. So, nice and important invention to human being. Now, here comes the most important part. Here is a vaccine. Now, every day we are asking question. We are so furious. We are so in a hurry that we want a vaccine for the coronavirus. Every day we look for the news that is there any country who have developed the coronavirus vaccine? Because this vaccine can actually save us from those deadly diseases, or even this vaccine may help us to bring a good immunity against those disease causing viruses. Now, firstly, let me tell you what are the vaccines. Now, our body is naturally immune. So, any foreign material or any disease causing microorganism enter our body, okay, then our immune system will produce a response in a form of antibody against that disease. That is naturally occurring response. But what happens is this response is in the form of antibody and very little. So, sometimes your antibodies are not enough to fight against those microorganisms, and so you fall sick for a prolonged period of time. So, what pharmaceuticals or what scientists and what researchers do is they actually kill this disease causing bacteria or microorganism, or they make sure that this are quite weakened. So, they insert this weakened form of culture of microorganism in human body. So, human body will produce a response against those bacteria and they will store an antibody in the human body. So, in future when exactly the same kind of microorganism or this kind of microorganism actually enter human body, they can fight against that virus or microorganism, and that way we can be saved. So, here as I told you what are the vaccines, let's talk about the vaccine little more. So, when disease carrying microbe enter our body, the body produce antibodies as I discussed to you to fight the invader. The body also remember how to find the microbes if it enters again. So, if the dead or weakened, remember vaccines are always a dead microorganism or a weak microorganisms are introduced the healthy body, the body fight and kills them by producing suitable antibodies. This antibody remain in the body and we are protected from the disease causing microbes. So, this is how vaccine work. Several diseases including cholera, tuberculosis, which is also known as TB, smallpox, hepatitis, which cause for jaundice, can be prevented with the vaccination. You might be knowing when you might be so young and tiny, your parents must have taken to the hospitals for the vaccination. So, even the first vaccination occurs when the child or a newborn is of 15 days. So, when you are young and you get this all vaccination, your immunity is really boosted up and small child can stay away from this all deadly disease causing disease causing microorganism. Children are given injection to protect themselves against several diseases. Necessary vaccines are available in hospital by the government free of cost. Vaccinations are also given to the children for protection against polio under pulse polio program. You might be surprised, in earlier time when 50 or 60 years back, out of every 50 children in India, there were 1 or 2 cases of polio. But in last 15 to 20 years, there is a 0 case of polio, because polio is the vaccine given by the government to free of cost and even by the private hospitals. Now, polio drops given to the children are actually vaccine, and this is called the oral vaccination. You might have heard of an advertisement by Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, that is Do Boond Zindagi Ke. That is the vaccination campaign to make our country polio free, and very great initiative. These days, vaccines are made on a large scale from microorganisms to protect humans and other animals from several diseases. So, we can just wish and pray that we get soon vaccine for the novel coronavirus or COVID-19. So, we can be saved from this pandemic situation. Now, they also increase the soil fertility. Now, these microbes are useful for increasing soil fertility by nitrogen fixing process. About nitrogen fixing process, we will discuss in detail in our next presentation. So, let me just tell you that some bacteria or blue-green algae are able to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere to enrich soil with the nitrogen and increase its fertility. These microbes are commonly called the biological nitrogen fixer. So, they also help us for the enrichment of soil fertility. They also clean environment. Now, they are so tiny, they are not able to see, they are not visible, we can't see them, still they are working non-stop 24/7 for cleaning environment. How? You often see large amount of dead organic matter in the form of decaying plants. Means you might see some kachra or kuda or dead plants or animal in your surroundings. Now, after some days, you might have observed that this all kuda, kachra get directly decomposed into the less harmful substance. So, who did this decomposition? This decomposition is done with the help of microorganism. So, you find that they are disappear after some time. This is because the microorganism decompose the dead organic waste of plant and animals and covering them into the simple substances. These substances are again used by the other plants and animals. Thus, microorganism can be used to degrade the harmful and smelly substances and thereby clean up the environment. So, in this slides, we have all discussed about how they are useful to us. In our next slide and next presentation, we will be discussing that are they harmful to us. So, this chapter will justify microorganism, they are friends as well as they are foe. See you for the next presentation. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation.